The day started like any other. London skies were gray, and a light drizzle made the streets wet and shiny. The children of Thomas's Battersea School walked in a neat line, holding hands or swinging their backpacks. It was just a school trip, a simple outing to a local shelter.
Nothing fancy, no big event.
No one expected something big to happen, but something big did happen, and it didn't come from a royal speech, a fancy dinner, or a news headline. It came from Princess Charlotte, a quiet girl, just 8 years old, who still tied her shoes loosely and sometimes forgot her spelling words. She didn't wear a crown. She wore a blue coat and had a small braid in her hair. That day, she didn't change the world with money or power. She did it by sitting on the floor beside a homeless girl and listening as the students entered the small community shelter. They looked around with curiosity. The building was old. The paint on the walls was chipped. There was a smell of soup in the air, and toys were piled in corners. Most of the kids walked past the tables and didn't notice much. But Charlotte saw something. A girl sat in the corner by herself. She wasn't part of the class. Her coat was too big, and her shoes didn't match. Her hair was messy. But her eyes were bright and deep, like she was always thinking. She didn't speak. She just watched. Charlotte paused. She didn't care about the rules. She didn't think about what a princess should or shouldn't do. She simply turned away from her class and walked quietly toward the girl. "Hi," Charlotte said gently. The girl looked up, unsure. "I'm Charlotte," she said again, smiling a little. The girl still didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "I'm Isla." They sat down on the floor together. A book lay open in Isla's lap, a story about a lost dog who finds its way back home. "I've read that," Charlotte said. "It made me cry." Isla gave a small nod. "Me too." They kept talking. Isla told Charlotte about her life not with sadness, but with strength. Her mom used to work in a library. They had a flat nearby. Then her mom got sick and lost her. Job, they couldn't pay rent anymore, so they had to leave. They stayed in temporary housing and came to the shelter for food. But Isla didn't sound broken. She talked about her mom's cooking, the drawings she kept in her backpack, and how she still hoped for a puppy one day. She said she wanted to be an artist. She said she would go back to school once things got better. Charlotte listened. It's not like someone who felt sorry, like someone who truly cared. Isla didn't ask for anything. She didn't cry or beg. She just told the truth. And that made Charlotte look at her not with pity, but with respect. Soon, a shelter staff member noticed Charlotte was missing from her group and came over, a little worried. When she saw the two girls talking, she stopped. Her eyes softened. Then she gently called Charlotte back. Charlotte stood, gave Isla one last smile, and returned to her group. But something had changed. That night at dinner in Kensington Palace, Charlotte didn't talk much. She picked at her peas and stared at her plate. Kate noticed right away. "Darling, what's wrong?" she asked softly. Charlotte looked up. "What?" "Mummy, there was a girl today. Her name was Isla. She lives at the shelter." William leaned in, interested. "What about her?" "She's my age," Charlotte said. "She was really smart and kind, but she doesn't have a home." Kate and William exchanged a quiet look. It wasn't a look of shock, something deeper. Their daughter had seen something no book could teach her. Charlotte took a breath. "Do you think she could come here? Just once? For tea? To play?" Kate reached out and touched her daughter's hand. "That's a kind idea, sweetheart. Tell me more about her." And Charlotte did. She spoke with light in her voice. About Isla's drawings, her bravery, her smile. Kate listened to every word, not like a queen, like a mother. Later that night, Kate stood by the window. The palace lights glowed behind her. William came and stood beside her. "She really wants to help," Kate said. "What do you think?" he asked. Kate looked out into the dark garden. "I think we have to meet this little girl." That moment was quiet. No one else saw it. It would lead to something no one could have imagined. Because Princess Charlotte didn't just bring home a story. She brought home a friend. The letter was short. The spelling wasn't perfect. But it was real. It was full of heart. Dear Isla, I liked talking to you. I told Mummy about you. Would you like to come for tea? We have dogs, your friend Charlotte. Charlotte had written it early in the morning. It was Saturday, and she woke before the sun. Her little feet padded across the wooden floor of the palace, wearing her favorite bunny slippers. She held the paper tightly in her hand as she came into the kitchen where Kate was sipping tea. Kate looked up, surprised. You're up early. Charlotte didn't say much. She just slid the letter across the table. Kate read it once. Then again, her chest felt warm. There was something honest in those few lines. No royal title, no big plans. Just one little girl trying to be a friend to another. Charlotte looked up. Can we take it to her today? Kate paused. She wasn't sure if that was allowed. Not because she didn't want to, but because of everything it meant. The palace had rules. Safety rules. Royal rules. But this was different. She smiled. Let me make a few phone calls. Later that afternoon, after calling the shelter's director and speaking with security, Kate and Charlotte went to the center again. No photographers, no news. Just a mother and her daughter, quietly walking into a simple place. Inside a small room with a wooden table and a broken heater, Ilsa and her mom Amanda were waiting. Amanda looked tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that life puts on your shoulders when things are hard for too long. She stood up quickly when Kate entered. Your Royal Highness, she said, her voice shaky. I didn't think. Kate stepped forward and gently smiled. There's no need. For that, I'm Catherine. It's lovely to meet you both. Charlotte ran to Isla and handed her the letter. Isla opened it slowly. Her face lit up. You really wrote this? She asked. Charlotte nodded. The two girls sat down on the floor again, just like the first time. They talked, laughed, and held hands. Meanwhile, Kate sat beside Amanda and asked her kindly, How are things going? Amanda didn't complain. She didn't ask for help. She spoke softly, honestly. She used to be a librarian. But after funding cuts and her illness, she had to stop working. Rent piled up. They had to leave their home. Now they lived in shared housing. A small room with 2 beds and a thin curtain. We're on the list for a new place, Amanda said. We're managing. Kate listened without interrupting. She asked questions. No questions. Not the kind people ask just to sound polite. I'd like to help, Kate said quietly. Amanda blinked. She didn't expect that. We didn't come here for anything, she whispered. I know, Kate said gently.
Ow.
But sometimes kindness comes first. Before they left, Kate knelt beside Isla and said, We'd love to have you visit us, if your mom says it's okay. Isla looked up at her mother, who was already wiping away quiet tears. Back at Kensington Palace, Charlotte was skipping down the hallway. She said, Yes, Mummy. She laughed. She's coming for tea. Kate smiled, but felt something heavy inside her chest. Not sadness, but the deep weight of something real beginning. She had already spoken to William. They both agreed. This would be private.
No news.
Stories, no royal photographers, just people. Just kindness, but kindness like light is hard to hide. 2 weeks later, on a Thursday afternoon, Isla arrived at the palace. Her dress was second-hand, carefully ironed. Her shoes were too big, borrowed from the donation bin at the center, but she walked proudly, her hand held tightly in her mother's dot. At the palace gates, Charlotte ran to meet her. She didn't say welcome. She didn't act different. She just hugged her. Kate watched from a few steps back and smiled. Amanda gave her a small nod of thanks. The girls played in the royal garden. They chased Loop, the family dog. They picked daisies. They made up silly songs. They laughed until they were red in the face. There were no guards watching closely, no palace staff with cameras. It's just 2 girls, being children. Kate brought them snacks herself, not a nanny, not a helper. Just a mum serving fruit slices and warm biscuits. Later that evening, when Isla left with her mother, Charlotte sat beside her mom on the couch. She didn't want to leave. Charlotte whispered Kate, wrapped her arm around her. I know. She said, "But we'll see her again." Charlotte didn't speak. She just smiled softly and leaned into her mother's shoulder. In that quiet moment, no one clapped, no camera clicked. But something had changed. One small act of friendship had already begun to open doors that had stayed closed for years, and soon the whole world would notice. News spreads fast even when no one plans to share it. Kensington Palace had tried to keep everything quiet. There were no photos, no media, just two little girls having tea and laughing in a royal garden. But something slipped. A junior staff member, not knowing the visit was private, spoke about it at a dinner. The word spread, soft at first, just whispers. By the next day, the tabloids had a headline: "Who is the mystery girl visiting Princess Charlotte?" Speculation started. Is it a playmate from school? A family friend? But soon, someone leaked. The truth, the girl wasn't a royal. She wasn't rich. She wasn't even from a famous family. She was from a shelter. And suddenly, the world leaned in. Inside the palace, things changed quickly. The communication team was flooded with calls. Reporters wanted to know who the girl was. She had been allowed inside the palace. Was it a charity project? A press stunt? Some said it was sweet. Others said it was risky. One senior advisor suggested they step back. It's too personal, too new. It may upset tradition. But Kate didn't flinch. She looked at William across the table and said calmly, "We don't hide kindness." Instead of staying silent, Kate made a bold choice. She decided to speak. 2 days later, the Royal Foundation released a quiet statement. It wasn't loud or showy. It's just honest words from the Princess of Wales. Every child deserves dignity, safety, and the chance to thrive. We are proud that Princess Charlotte responded to another child's pain with compassion and empathy. We will continue to support community partnerships that help families in need. The response was immediate. People around the world began talking.
Social media
exploded. Parents posted stories of how their children wanted to help others too. Teachers shared how their students were moved by Charlotte's actions. Some said it was the most human moment the palace had shown in years. Behind the scenes, Kate didn't stop at words. She took real steps. Met again with the shelters director. She contacted the Royal Foundation's Children and Families program. Quietly, without any press, she arranged for help. A private school offered Isla a scholarship. An anonymous donor, someone touched by the story, helped Amanda and Isla move into a safe apartment in a quiet part of West London. It wasn't fancy, but it had a kitchen, a warm bed, and a window with a tree outside. The next time Isla came to the palace, she didn't wear shoes from a donation bin. She didn't walk in with shaky steps. She arrived with a wide smile, holding a homemade thank you card in her hand. Charlotte met her at the door again. This time, they ran toward each other like sisters. That day, the palace had set up a small art room just for them. No reporters, no cameras, just colored pencils, paper, and snacks. They painted flowers, drew silly pictures of the palace dog, giggled about teachers and stories. There were no fancy words. No speeches, just joy. From the hallway, Kate stood watching. She didn't step in. She didn't pose for photos. She simply stood there, smiling, holding a cup of tea as just a mother. Watching two girls being happy, Amanda was there too. This time her shoulders weren't so tight. Her eyes didn't look tired. She spoke with the house staff. She shared a quiet laugh with Kate. Slowly, she began to feel not like a visitor, but like someone who belonged. At the end of the day, as Isla packed her bag and hugged Charlotte goodbye, something in the air felt different, softer, brighter. That evening, Charlotte sat beside Kate in the sitting room again, hugging a small painting Isla had given her, a picture of two girls under a tree. She said she wants to draw the palace garden next. Charlotte whispered. Kate kissed her forehead. She can come back soon. But not everything could stay quiet. The story had become bigger than they expected. Soon, all eyes would be watching, not just what Charlotte did, but what the palace would do next. For centuries, The royal family had followed strong traditions. Who you spoke to, who entered the palace, who was seen, who was not. It was always careful, it's always chosen. But now a homeless girl had walked through the palace gates not as a servant, not as a face in a crowd, but as a friend. And the question was no longer whether people were talking, it was whether they were listening. It started with a quiet visit, a child's letter, simple invitation for tea. But now, everyone was watching. The world had seen many royal events, grand weddings, parades, speeches, but what made this moment different was its heart. Charlotte hadn't worn a crown or made a speech. She had simply made a friend. And by doing that, she had broken an invisible wall. Now, the palace had a decision to make. Would they step back, stay silent, and let it fade? Or would they move forward and let kindness lead? Kate already knew the answer. The spring charity garden event at Kensington was coming soon. It was usually a quiet gathering, just a few invited guests, teachers, local leaders, and donors. It wasn't a big show. It was meant to thank the people who helped children and families in London. Kate made a quiet request to the event team. No press, she said, no spotlight. But I want Charlotte to bring someone. The day of the event arrived with sunshine. In soft wind, the gardens were green and full of flowers. Guests walked through the gates slowly, talking politely and admiring the view. Then something changed. People turned. Two little girls walked across the lawn, hand in hand. One wore a soft lavender dress. The other wore a yellow one, with a small bracelet she made herself. They walked with quiet steps, but every eye followed them. It wasn't shock. It wasn't judgment. It was surprise, gentle, curious, respectful. Surprise, because there, beside Princess Charlotte, was Isla. She didn't come as a guest of honor. She wasn't holding a speech. She didn't carry any special title. But Charlotte introduced her to every person with pride. "This is my friend Isla," she said. "She likes to draw. And she's really funny." People smiled and greeted Isla warmly, and she smiled back, not nervous, not shy. Just herself. Kate watched from nearby, standing beside Amanda. They weren't wearing ball gowns. They weren't giving interviews. They were simply two mothers, watching their daughters change the meaning of the garden party. Amanda's eyes filled with quiet tears. "She looks happy," she said softly. "She is," Kate answered. "And she's helping others feel happy, too." That day, something important happened, though there were no big announcements. The garden event ended like it always did, with thank yous, tea, and soft music, but the feeling in the air was different. A wall had cracked. A tradition had shifted, and no one tried to stop it. In the weeks that followed, the story continued to grow, but not in a loud way, not through newspapers or TV channels. It grew in hearts. School children across the country wrote letters to shelters. Families volunteered more. People shared their own stories of hardship and hope. They didn't just talk about Charlotte. They talked about Isla too, because Isla wasn't just a guest anymore. She was part of the story. Charlotte and Isla kept seeing each other. They painted in the palace's little art room. They wrote silly stories and drew comic books. They played with the palace dogs, and each time Amanda was there too, drinking tea with Kate or walking in the garden. No photographers followed them. No articles were written. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the quiet ones, Kate continued. Her work through the Royal Foundation, new partnerships were formed. New support was given to shelters and schools. And though the palace didn't say it out loud, many knew it all started with a little girl's simple act of friendship. One evening, Charlotte sat by the window in her room. She was looking at a small picture frame on her table. Inside it was Isla's drawing. Two girls sitting under a tree, holding hands. Kate came in to say goodnight. "Did you have fun today?" she asked. Charlotte nodded. "Isla said she wants to be an artist. I think she really can be." Kate sat beside her. "You helped her believe that?" "I didn't do much," Charlotte said. Kate smiled. "You did exactly enough." Downstairs, William placed a newspaper on the table. The headline read, "A royal act of kindness sparks national change." He looked at Kate. You know, she's teaching all of us. She is, Kate said softly, and we need to listen. The story never had a big ending, no big awards, no grand farewell. That's what made it so special. Because when Princess Charlotte brought back her homeless friend, it wasn't a moment made for cameras. It was a moment made for change. And it quietly, powerfully changed everything.